I didn't realize when I was invited to do this that it would turn into a full house and a full parking lot, so I really appreciate it. And I want to thank my special guest quicker today. Okay. So I've heard lots about the different organizations that are here. I'm seeing fire department and EMS folks. I'm seeing Visit Morgan County, and all the people that I would have wanted to. Did I hear someone from local media as well? Yes, okay. So, hi, I'm Barrett Caldwell. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here today. So, I'm a rocket scientist, and I like doing space stuff, so this is really one of my favorite things to talk about. So if we can go to the next slide, just a little bit about me. I've been the director of the Indiana Space Grant Consortium since February of 2002, which makes me officially a little bit older, which I was realizing on the drive down, and I thought, you know, I can go there without stopping. It's like, no, the only body does not say that you can drive that far without stopping it. I've been at Purdue, yeah, that other university, since 2000. Thank you. Okay. So you do have some Boilermakers, and I feel a little bit better. Before that, I was at one of the other red schools, the University of Wisconsin, for 10 years. And my background is a combination of engineering, systems engineering, and psychology. So I study humans for a living, which is a really cool thing to do, especially when those humans are astronauts. So that's my background. Next slide, please. And if you have not heard about the Space Grant Program, the National Space Grant College and Fellowship Program comes from the NASA office, what used to be the NASA Office of Education. It's now the Office of STEM Engagement. And we are a national network of colleges, universities, outreach centers. There's well over 1,000 nationally, and there really are space grant consortia in each state, plus the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico. They're setting up 2 new ones in the Virgin Islands and Guam, and I would recommend that you go visit the Virgin Islands Space Grant Consortium because it's pretty here, so that's really nice. But our emphasis is to foster and enhance STEM ecosystems, which is everything from initial inspiration to education and employment, and just broader community and public awareness of STEM and the mission of NASA in your everyday life. So I won't go through the rest of that pitch, but I will be here for additional questions afterwards. No, I'm not going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about the Eclipse. That's why I'm here. So my background in studying systems engineering is a really good start for talking about the experience, and I can't emphasize that enough. Have any of you experienced a total solar eclipse before? Okay, several of you probably drove down to Kentucky or over to Illinois for the 2017 eclipse. So if you've had that experience, please tell all your friends that partial eclipse, even if it's 99.5, is not the same as a total solar eclipse experience. So I happen to be in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and one of the important lessons that I'm going to share with you is we had a tour bus from the Evansville Museum. It took us about 45 minutes to get down there from Evansville, and it took about 4.5 hours to get back. And that is one of the really, really crucial things that I'm going to bring to you today. There's a massive impact here. So episode 2 of our Eclipse series is on October 14th, which is a Saturday afternoon. It is it's called an annular eclipse, and I won't go into all the physics of it, but it means that the distance between the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun are such that the Moon doesn't completely cover the Sun for an annular. But here in Indiana, we'll have about 45% obscuration of the sun, and I think of that as sort of our practice run for the experience of the real eclipse. Just before that, I was reminded also, when we're doing the planning, Labor Day is a really good day to look at where the sun will be at the same time, in the same spot in the sky as for the eclipse. And I can geek out about exactly what I'm doing. But the main event, the reason why we're here, is Monday, April 8th, 2024, total solar eclipse, which will be the last one visible in Indiana until maybe 2199, depending on how picky you are about places up near Michigan City. But I don't think I'm going to be here for that one. So I'm getting excited about this one. Next. So, as I said, I was in Hopkinsville for the 2017 eclipse, and what I've heard and now experienced is that it is a very, very profound experience for everyone that is in the path of totality. Even the animals respond very differently for it. They will act like it's nighttime. What you'll see is a 360-degree sunset. So that picture, I don't know if you can see it in the lighting, but that's a picture during totality. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it looks like sunset. It looks like late sunset. And we had it for about a little under 3 minutes. The eclipse totality here in Martinsville is actually going to be quite long, maybe almost a full minute longer than that. So you'll hear the insects, the daytime insects will just stop. I've heard about bees just sort of hitting around. The nighttime insects will come out, the birds will stop chirping, and then the chickens will crow again at the end of the eclipse. The temperature goes down by several degrees. We've had science experiments that have actually demonstrated that the effect of the shadow on planet Earth actually influences the experience of cloud cover and experience of the temperature in the shadow. There are a lot of cultural and religious impacts about this. There are many stories of indigenous myths about what the eclipse is. It's talk about the snake swallowing. Some people say that you must not go outside. Other people say you must go outside and experience it and bathe in it. But for the purposes of being that science and engineering geek, I have to emphasize that safety is absolutely critical, crucial. Education is vital, and preparation is essential. So there is a risk of blindness during the partial eclipse period, and so I say everybody needs to have eclipse viewers during the period of partial eclipse. The lucky ones like you get to take their glasses off during totality, and sometimes people don't understand you should take your glasses off if you're in the path of totality during that path of complete obscuration. So I love you talking about our economic impact, because during the 2017 eclipse, the impact of out-of-state people for the state of Wyoming, by the way, Wyoming doesn't have that many people. Okay, they have a total population of about 700,000 or 800,000 people. They had about 400,000 visitors for one day. Okay, it was worth about $61 million to the state of Wyoming. It was worth about $127 million to Nebraska, and almost $275 million to the state of South Carolina. So as you get to places where there are more people who are within driving distance of the path of totality, like here, you will see more impacts, more opportunities for very significant tens, if not hundreds of thousands of visitors will be coming to the state of Indiana that day. In Hopkinsville, which was a location of emphasis for NASA, they had about $30 million of impact for a town that is probably maybe 10 or 15,000 people, with about 100,000 visitors. Okay. And the biggest negative really was traffic. And so we were talking a little bit about, imagine 50,000 of your closest friends that all show up semi-announced, and they're driving in on 37 or 67 or 39 or pick your favorite interstate, and they just pull over. Okay. Or you've got a nice farm, and they just pull over. And so we really want to think about what are the impacts of traffic, of safety. Are we going to have enough porta potties? Little details like that sound humorous, but are really a big deal. Having what's called ECATs, emergency cellular towers on wheels, to handle the additional traffic communication. Next slide. So, back home again in Indiana, I have to say that because it's May in Indiana, we have to say that. So, if you notice that Indianapolis is within totality, it's one of the largest areas, urban areas north of Dallas to be in the path of totality. And we see a lot of towns along I-69 that are significant. So, what you won't see within the path, and then I think this is really crucial, cities like Louisville, Cincinnati, Nashville, Memphis that were closer to totality than aren't now, and so those people will be driving into to find a place into the path, and so they will be looking at communities like this. Next slide. So we have students. I mean, we have students in lots of our different universities that want to be docents and ambassadors. We have people who have marketing experience. We have people who have public communications experiences. I actually got an email this morning, though, of another county. I won't sit you in competition with each other. Oh, you have students? We want them. We want them now. We want them to help us with the planning, with the experience, with the logistics. There are people that are doing instruments and experiments. And so in some ways, I would say, oh yeah, it would be great to work with IU in Bloomington. But Bloomington is also near the center line with one of the most significant scientific experimental bases and observatory bases in the United States. So they're going to be overwhelmed with people, and they're going to have lots of students that are going to be working on campus with lots of visitors that day. We've got multiple audiences, you know, talking about rural populations. I'm originally a city kid, but I know a lot about how upset people get when you start tromping across their farm a week after planting. And so we want to think about what does that mean for the schedule next spring. Obviously I can't predict the weather. I know what I want, but I don't know what I'm going to get. Minority populations, older and younger populations, all have different experiences. What was it like for those of you who had the experience of a partial eclipse? I believe there was one in the 80s or 90s here in Indiana. I didn't live here then, so I'm certainly old enough, but I wasn't. Next slide. So as I said, the path of totality roughly tracks I-69, and it means that there is a significant traffic impact in the small communities as well as the big cities. So Evansville and Indianapolis and Muncie are going to be hit very hard. But smaller communities, I was working with a community a couple of days ago who said, we only have one hotel in our county. What do we do? Okay. So being able to think about partnership with a county that isn't in the path of totality, but has more hotels. Being able to work with multiple county tourism and chambers to say, okay, we've got I-64, 65, 69, and 70 and 74, and people will be obviously offloading at various exits along the way. So being able to do the advertising to come visit that your county, and as well as having businesses that, for a while, the summer tourist trade, April is way too early, but being open for that weekend can become a really, really important thing. We're seeing some indications that the 2024 impact could be greater than the 2017 impact because people didn't know what a total eclipse was in 2017, that now that they've had that experience, more of the people in the United States are willing to come. But this is always a global event. So when I was in Hopkinsville, the people next to me literally had flown in to Louisville, I think it was, from Switzerland.
Wow.
And there are other people from Germany, other people from East Asia. People come follow eclipses all over the world. So it is both a national and an international event. So, as I said, there's a major science presence at IU Bloomington a few weeks ago. NASA announced that they are going to have a presence at Motor Speedway. So I guess that's going to be the greatest spectacle in astronomy. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. So we'll see. But clearly, everybody has a role to play because you're not, even if you could, you wouldn't want to have 1.5 million people all at Motor Speedway. Okay. Next slide. What do counties and communities need to plan for? Think about local eclipse festivals. Again, this is not during the normal tourist area or time period, but I've talked to some other communities that are having weekend festivals. So the idea is arrive early, stay late, and stay put. And because, and that was the Hopkinsville problem. And, 3 minutes, and then everybody tried to disperse all at once on one two-lane highway, which is basically the only way from Hopkinsville to the state line. That's a nightmare. Okay, it's a Monday afternoon, so there's been a lot of discussion about having either early school closure or no school that day. Okay, because you don't want the buses stuck in that. There's going to be a population surge. Local infrastructure stresses, again, shopping for that weekend, other elements of communications that weekend, emergency services that weekend, everything from someone slipping in the mud to someone who actually did look at the eclipse too long and now can't see very well. So you need to think about public works, law enforcement, supplies and sanitation, especially the health, safety, and welfare. April weather could be a real dice roll. I know that April 8th, 2023 was absolutely gorgeous. If I could get that weather again, I would be happy. It was about 60 degrees up in Lafayette, perfectly blue skies. Or it could be 30 degrees and snow. But the trick is people are going to be here a few days in advance, and then they're going to make their decision about exactly where to do their viewing the morning of, because if they're 5 hours away, 6 hours away, flying in that morning, you don't have enough time to reschedule. So it's going to be really important that people are going to be here and then working with the media to have weather forecasts, to have weather expectations, to say, here are the sites that we're expecting that will still be better. By the way, even if it is completely clouded over, you will have a darkness experience during totality. So that's a really important thing. And we do have people who are doing remote viewing of cameras from other locations or balloon research, where they're showing a picture of the clouds from above with the shadow going across. Really, really cool. So again, there are lots of preparations nearby. I'm very pleased that Mitch Lumen, the director of the Evansville Museum, actually managed to help shepherd a Senate resolution through proclaiming Total Eclipse Day. And we're all supposed to be doing everything we can to raise awareness. That's why I'm here. We have lots of our different space grant affiliates and partners involved. The DNR and the historic sites have a number of places that they're going to be looking at, including the Hoosier National Forest. We have a living link, and I've got more information about that going through. Hamilton and Spencer counties, cities. If I had planned this, it would have been hard to top this, but as I was driving down, I got to listen to Kim Carnes and Total Eclipse of the Heart. Terre Haute has capitalized on that. Their theme is Total Eclipse of the Haute. Yeah. Apparently they're working with the artists to repurpose and rewrite their lyrics. They're going all in. Next slide. So next steps, again, we're working with the state police and emergency management. They are a very, very powerful resource, but as we worked with them before and talked to people at state level meetings, they want to be a resource that are participating but don't want to necessarily take the lead. They want to engage with people, see where individual counties and communities are. I think, you know, the counties with their emergency services really do have a powerful role to play there, so I'm looking at you guys. Eclipse glasses, and I just realized, just one minute. So, it's already late to get Eclipse glasses, okay? People start ordering these things a year or two or more in advance. And you see some images there with the state of Indiana branding. So I'm glad that more people didn't show up, because then I would be in trouble because I brought some for each one. But I'm not going to be able to give you like 10,000. Okay. That's how many you may think about ordering. Think about all your students, all of your family members. Maybe you want to sell some at the gift shops. Okay. Maybe you want to, it's almost like Girl Scout cookie time. We've been working with our partner, Rainbow Symphony, to get these at something of a discount. There is a local supplier. I don't have the information about the local Indiana supplier, but we have been working with an Eclipse team throughout the state. We just had a meeting last week and I found out about the supplier. We are also working with others nationally to highlight the capabilities. There are books such as this field guide to the 23 and 24 eclipses. They have a very nice mention about Indiana in here. So I'm not going to say. Now think about this. If we as Indiana had to pay for this level of advertising, we're talking tens of millions of dollars. The Washington Post had an article about the eclipse beginning of last week, and Terre Haute was mentioned. Okay. I have this Smithsonian Associates thing from the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, and there's actually an eclipse trip being planned within the Smithsonian tours for that week. So as people are thinking about, oh, what is this? This is actually a fairly significant visibility for the community, the county, the region, the state. Next slide. We have a lot of preparation efforts already underway. The Evansville Museum has put together an exhibit that they want to make available to the other communities within the state. So we have some of the contact information there. It's also good for K-12 outreach. Some of my students at Purdue in my industrial engineering capstone design course actually worked with Decatur County and Spencer County, so that's how I already knew about the Santa Claus. They were one of our customers, and so they have this cute logo with Santa Claus and Abe Lincoln wearing Eclipse glasses. But if you see in the, let's see, that would be the, wow, where is it? It's the bottom of the two is a poster showing elements of, whoops.
I went back to the logo for you.
Yeah, that's the logo with Abe and Santa. And the students actually did a logistics study. For the students going to Greensburg, they actually did a checklist of all the things that you might want to have. And so that is something that can be made available to you. So everything from 6 months out, 3 months out, actually 12 months out. We're at 327 days right now. Who's counting? We're working with the American Astronautical Society Planning Network and the Indiana Space Grant Total Solar Eclipse Group. So there's a lot of discussion about Purdue students who might be from this area, who want to work in STEM education, communications, science education, in our honors college, in our engineering projects and community service, in our women's leadership groups, all have expressed interest in participating. Next slide. So how can we help Martinsville and Morgan County? So again, some of the checklists from Decatur and Spencer counties will be helpful. We have education materials from NASA and other Space Grant affiliates, as I mentioned, the Purdue ambassadors. And so where should we set up? I'm going to leave this presentation with you with all the links, but that slide actually shows exactly which direction you should be looking on April 8th. And again, you should also be looking in exactly that same direction on September 8th, or whatever the first Monday in September is. I've lost track. So we're working south-southwest at about 50 to 55 degrees elevation, maybe a little bit higher than that at the run-up. So as you're thinking about places where you want to set up, and you're talking to local community partners, what roads are north-south versus east-west? Okay. Which fields? Which baseball stadiums, football stadiums? There's some other open areas. Okay. Well, which farmers have a copse of trees looking to this right to the south? That's not where you want to set up. Copse of trees that's over to the east or to the north, that's where you want to be thinking. And so if there's a slope, you need to be thinking about all those things. So again, next slide. Wow, I actually did it in about 25 minutes. I could talk about this for hours. Yes, thank you. My peeps. I would like to open it up for questions, suggestions, actions, and I do hope there's some of that tasty food still left. Yes? Excellent. Okay. So, questions or suggestions? Again, I'm going to leave my contact with Jamie and Darcy. Darcy?
Yes.
Yes. They're going to know how to get a hold of me. I hope to regret that statement. Yeah.
So did you ever say a time? I noticed that.
Oh, I forgot to tell you that. There you go. Eclipse start, 1:49:42 in the afternoon. Totality start, 3:05:16. Oh my goodness, you are blessed beyond hope. 4 minutes and 6 seconds for totality.
Wow.
Okay, we could go through the math. It's hard for any place on Earth to ever experience as much as 5 minutes. So 4 minutes and 6 seconds is a tremendously good period. And that's one of the things that Eclipse hunters look for as well, duration of totality.
What's average?
Well, remember that band? At the end of the band, you only get it for like a few seconds.
Oh.
And then the center line is whatever the longest is given the Earth, Moon, Sun pattern for that day.
Okay.
Okay? It's basically just where the moon is in the plane compared to the sun and where the moon is in terms of its distance from the Earth.
That's math with letters, so.
That's mapped with several letters.
That's why I had to ask you. Yeah. You're the smartest one in the room, so.
No, I'm the geekiest engineer in the room, maybe. But yeah, 4 minutes and 6 seconds is totality. So again, Eclipse start 1:49, totality start from 3:05 to roughly 3:10. And then the end of the eclipse obscuration is probably going to be about 5 o'clock. And so by then, you really don't want people just dumping back onto the roads, because if I'm thinking about it, sunset about that time of year is what, about 6:15 maybe? Maybe a little bit earlier. So the idea of preparing the roads, preparing traffic flow is going to be really essential. Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, schools have called this a new learning day already, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So an e-learning day, that there are a couple of reasons that you would want to do that. I mentioned the traffic and the school buses. There's also the logistics of having the students under the responsibility of the teacher. Johnny, put your glasses on. But that means it's also a great parent and child education experience. So this could be the best e-learning of all, Eclipse learning. Yeah, I just made that up. Any other questions? You're being shy.
Did you want to mention your QR code?
Oh! This QR code will actually send you, I believe it sends you to the map of Indiana that I showed. If someone tries it and you get something else, please let me know. Yeah.
Say just a bit about the dangers, the high dangers.
Yeah, the trick about watching an eclipse is that the partial eclipse is still really, really bright until you get over like 80 or 85%. It's still like looking at the sun. You don't do that. But even when people start looking at the sun at 80, 85, 90%, it's getting darker, but it's still extremely bright. And if you're focusing on it, you have the chance of burning your retina. This is really, really not good. Okay, that is a permanent burn, and before that, it is a very long-term damage. So think about your worst sunburn ever, and then putting it on your eye or in your eye. Okay. So we want to be really, really careful that people have other ways. These are not sunglasses. Okay, these are more like welder's glasses. And if you put them on, if I were to put this on right now, you would all go away. Okay. They're really, really dark. And that means during totality, if you left the glasses on, you wouldn't be able to see the experience of totality. Okay. So that's part of the education of why does everyone need glasses during a partial eclipse or during the non-totality periods of the eclipse. Retinal burns, disorientation, very, very long term, that sun after image exposure. But you can use all sorts of cool things like one of the coolest ways I've seen is you take a colander and you hold it in front of the sun, and the shadow on the ground of all the holes from pinhole effect will actually show you the shape of the partial eclipse at that point. So we've got lots of other educational materials about that, and we want to show you some of that. But that's why we talk about safety.
As a community, what's our next step?
As a community, what's your next step? Start planning. Start looking around. Start thinking about where do you want people to be? How do you let them know that? Where do you do the education? How do you start thinking about media promotion? How do you start thinking about, this is the next academic year, but that will involve all the students' lesson plans. How are you going to be thinking about, okay, what do we do in a Monday in April, okay, when a lot of the seasonal businesses aren't open, but they need to think about being open now. What do we do in terms of working with state police on what's your favorite access route and how do you make sure it stays open? Okay. Where do you want overflow parking areas? Is that at the high school? Is that at a local business? Again, as I said, if you want to start ordering glasses or Eclipse viewers in cards, you really need to start. The best time to do it was 2 years ago, but the next best time is now. And yes, by the way, how many people is Martinsville right now?
Just under 12,000.
Okay, so you may need to think about somewhere on the order of 15, 20, 25,000 glasses because you'll want all of your citizens to have it. But there will be visitors. Some of those visitors will come here and realize that they left them at home, or might want to buy a locally branded version. Okay, so if you don't have a logo yet, you may want to think about that. You've got this wonderful in Morgan County. So,
Yeah, and I'm sorry if you covered this, but the first Monday in September, I think it was the 4th. So if we go out on the 4th at the same time the eclipse is supposed to start in April, the sun's going to be in the same position, correct?
Pretty much, yes. I mean, it's Labor Day, it's a Monday, so you can get in the habit of thinking about it that way. Why is that true? Labor Day is about 3 weeks before the fall equinox, and the eclipse is about 3 weeks after the spring equinox. And that's how you know that the timing is about the same. See, that didn't take any letters in.
No letters with the numbers.
Yeah.
Are there qualities on those glasses?
Excuse me?
Are there different qualities on those glasses?
Yes. You should always look for vendors that will provide you with the ISO and CE designations. These are international standards for visibility and safety at a particular level of light filtration. These are about 1 million times more opaque than regular sunglasses.
Good question.
And if you put a business logo, can they come back on your business if they're not?
Yeah, so we've got the Space Grant logo on here and the state of Indiana Eclipse logo. So you can have a wonderful logo. Well, we'd like you to use the Space Grant logo too. But yeah, so I'm actually, if we can just hand these out.
Do you have a website you recommend purchasing those from?
Yeah, we do have a vendor that we've worked with. The name of the company is Rainbow Symphony. I believe there's a logo, there's a website address back in this. They're a father and daughter team out of Cedar, California. As soon as I get the Indiana vendor, we will see about making that available to people. And now it's watching here. See, this is why I didn't do it beforehand, right?
Yes, we're children. The link you provided, can I put in my location and it'll simulate my experience, like at my house for my kids? Or is there any sort of service that does that?
No, it says levels.
Yeah.
So the picture
I can
that
put
I
any
showed
city
you-
I want in, and it'll tell me kind of what that experience is.
Yeah, so when I showed you that image, that was going into that NASA website and typing in marketing.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay. So I will be here for a little bit longer because I'm hungry. But thank you very much, and I will now return you to your regularly scheduled. And when you do NASA things, I almost forgot, but I would get in trouble. When you do NASA things, you always must leave NASA meatball logo stuff. So I'm going to give you some of these. And